This week, the Biden administration paused approvals for massive fossil fuel projects, specifically liquefied natural gas, or LNG, export terminals. The pause was ordered so that the Department of Energy can conduct a review of the economic and environmental impacts of the new projects. The White House put out a statement yesterday that reads in part, quote, "We will take a hard look at the impacts of LNG exports on energy costs, America's energy security, and our environment." This pause on new LNG approvals sees the climate crisis for what it is, the existential threat of our time, end quote. Fracked, or hydraulically fractured natural gas, is touted as a cleaner, greener fuel option because in its gaseous state, it technically does burn cleaner than coal or oil. But natural gas can't be shipped as a gas. It has to be liquefied, and there is consensus among environmental scientists, including top scientists at the National Resource Defense Council, that liquefied natural gas and the process of chilling, storing, and shipping it en masse via ocean liner could actually be worse for the environment than oil. The last review of liquefied natural gas projects happened in 2018. Since then, the United States export capacity has more than tripled and is set to increase even more in the next 5 years with projects that are currently under construction. The U.S. is now the world's top exporter of LNG, providing a steady supply of it to Europe and Asia, which have weaned off of Russian natural gas since the start of the war in Ukraine. President Biden has assured critics at home and abroad that this pause will not imperil national security for the United States or for our allies, and that exemptions will be made for national security purposes. The Energy Secretary, Jennifer Granholm, has said that the pause will not have an impact on already approved projects, which pushed American LNG exports to record highs last year. For more on this, I am joined by Jennifer Granholm, the United States Secretary of Energy. Secretary Granholm, great to see you again. Thank you for being back on the show.
You bet, Ali. Great to be on.
Let's talk about this. You're walking a fine line here in that there is something important about energy independence and energy security in the United States. Americans believe that to be true. There's also this larger issue of energy security in the world, particularly a world in which we have asked European allies not to buy Russian natural gas. And at the same time, there is growing and increasing pressure from those who are worried about the climate, as your administration has said, an existential crisis to produce less in terms of fossil fuels. Tell me about this balancing act and how you see it unfolding.
Well, it is clear that the president very much wants to make sure that American interests are center in the decision to pause, and you did a very nice job of describing what this was and what it is not. It is not a ban on exports. It is a review of those projects that are in the queue. So just to put this into context a little bit, Ali, we currently export, and as you noted, the largest in the world, 14 billion cubic feet. Now, I know that sounds like a number that most people can't wrap their head around, but just center on the 14 part. That's what we currently export as the largest. We have another 12 billion cubic feet that are under construction and already approved. This pause does not affect any of that. And then on top of that, Ali, we have another 22 billion cubic feet that have been authorized but haven't begun construction yet. So that's 48 billion cubic feet, which would make us the behemoth of the entire globe multiple times over in terms of exporting. So the question is, we need to update our assessments to see how much is going to be the global demand, how much greenhouse gas emissions does that produce, and, Ali, what does that do for the prices at home for consumers of natural gas, whether they're residential or commercial? We are currently producing about 100 BCF per day of natural gas. If we export half of that, with 48, if we export half of that, then what does it do to prices at home? That's a legitimate question that manufacturers are asking. So this is why this assessment has to be done. It's done periodically. As you know, it hasn't been done for 5 years. Important to pause while we get it all, the national labs will be doing this assessment while they do take into account the latest information on the ground across the world, and while we make sure that our allies are still supplied with fuel.
Let's take that last point, how do we make sure our allies are still supplied with fuel? This is tricky because our allies in Europe consume fuel. and everybody would like it to come from wind and solar and things like that. And in some cases, that's the way the world is going. But in some cases, we were in a position, particularly at the outbreak of the Ukraine war, where we applied pressure on allies to say, please don't fund the war by buying Russian fossil fuel projects. How do you sell that to people who say we need to get out of the business of making more fossil fuel products and shipping them, while at the same time saying we need to make sure that our allies have what they need to not fund Russia's supply of fossil fuel or some other bad actor's supply?
Yeah, I mean, and our allies have stepped up to the plate and said at the latest conference of the parties, the latest COP, that they want to wean off of fossil fuels entirely, or at least get to net zero by 2050. So we are managing this transition, is what the globe is really doing. We want to make sure that people can turn the lights on, obviously, and we want to make sure that we are transitioning to clean energy so that we solve the climate crisis. And balancing that is something the Biden administration has been doing this entire time. We wanted to produce enough energy to keep our gasoline prices low, but also to make sure that our allies are supplied with natural gas at the same time as we are accelerating all of these clean technologies so that ultimately we do get to 100% clean electricity in the United States by 2035 and net zero by 2050, and help our allies do the same.
All right, I want to talk when we come back. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, let's talk about climate activism in the United States and the impact this decision will have on those who want to see more of it. Secretary Granholm, please stay with me. We'll continue this conversation after a break. Back with me now is the United States Energy Secretary, Jennifer Granholm. Secretary Granholm, I just want to dig into this pause in LNG facility production to discuss what it is you're trying to get at. Senator Manchin of West Virginia has said, quote, if the administration has the facts to prove that additional LNG export capacity would hurt Americans, they must make that information public and clear. But if this pause is just another political ploy to pander to the keep it in the ground climate activists at the expense of American workers, businesses, and allies in need, I will do everything in my power to end this pause immediately, end quote. What's your sense of that comment, and what do you make of it?
Well, I mean, he's obviously concerned about the price impacts at home of exporting all of this liquefied natural gas. And this is exactly what this assessment is set to find out. We are obligated under the Natural Gas Act, the Department of Energy is, to authorize exports based upon an assessment of the public interest. What is in the public interest? And so that's why we evaluate the economics, we evaluate the global supply, demand, what other countries will be needing into the future. We evaluate our national security interests, and certainly we evaluate the environmental impacts. This is all done, we're a science agency at the Department of Energy. We have 17 national labs. I like to say, you know, in God we trust, all others bring data. And in fact, this is what this assessment is. It's about getting the data to make sure that we are basing authorizations on science.
And what does that involve in terms of getting the data? In other words, we've been studying fossil fuels for a long time, but here you're describing sort of a few different things. You've got national security or public interest issues, and some of that is national security and international security, climate, which is obviously central and really motivating, and price. How do you weigh those things against one another? Because one could say, from a climate perspective, it might be better that we produce no natural gas or export no liquefied natural gas, but we have other concerns. How do you, is it all science, or is there some economic and political weighing of those things?
Well, there's definitely economics that go into it, for sure. We have modeling at our national labs. We've got the biggest exascale computers that do climate modeling, and we also evaluate the economy of it, the supply and the demand into the future. What are the other countries saying that they are going to do, and have they taken action to fulfill their pledges, for example? We're also leading a number of countries in a global methane pledge. We know now what the technologies are to make sure there are no methane leaks, which is what natural gas produces. And so we need to look at all of these factors to determine what's in the public interest. I mean, Ali, if you look, you'll hear back from those who have a good point about the fact that coal is much more GHG producing than natural gas. And if we are exporting these liquefied natural gas to countries that are predominantly relying upon coal, doesn't that actually reduce greenhouse gas emissions? They have a point, so we need to evaluate that as well. So all of these factors are going to go into the mix in determining what is in the public interest. We have, you heard me say we have 14 billion cubic feet that we are exporting now, another 12 in the queue, and another 22 that haven't even begun construction, 22 that have been authorized. We have another 12 BCF that's in the queue waiting for us to make a decision. So this is why we had to pause to say what really is going to be in the U.S.'s public interest if we authorize more.
Quick question. Are there going to be any public hearings involved in this or no?
There will be a public comment period. So once the assessment is done, we will make it available for public comment.
Secretary, good to see you. Thank you for joining us again. We always appreciate it. The United States Secretary of Energy, Jennifer Granholm.